Greetings, this is Foundational Saints, and here we will be featuring the patriarch Jacob. We will delve into 5 components within the conversion of Jacob. It doesn't cover all aspects of his faithful journey, but I found these points interesting in Scripture. The first component covers Jacob's humbleness, or how he was beloved by God. The second part covers his visions or dreams. The third component covers Jacob confronting kings or leaders. The fourth component addresses his persecution or trials, and the fifth part covers his third heaven correspondence. The third heaven correspondence can either come from the Lord or an angel. The context of Jacob involves God confirming his covenant with him, promising protection and blessings to his descendants. Part 1. Being humble or beloved. In some cases, a man has to be humbled in order to be used by God. And like Paul and Peter, the patriarch Jacob is no different. Sometimes it's what an individual says or does that shows his humbleness. Notice how Jacob responds to greeting his brother after fleeing Laban. Genesis 33:3. Then he crossed over before them and bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. We find down through Scripture, we find that the Lord loved Jacob. Romans 9:13. As it is written, Jacob I have loved, but Esau I have hated. Mainly because Jacob overcame. The second component is Jacob experiencing visions or dreams. Jacob would receive both visions and dreams. Notice Genesis 46:2. Then God spoke to Israel in the visions of the night and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here I am. Then earlier, Jacob had the dream of a ladder or stairway while he was fleeing Haran. Genesis 28:12. Then he dreamed, and behold, a ladder was set up on the earth, and its top reached to heaven. And there the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. The third component is Jacob being brought before leaders. Now sometimes being brought before leaders is a good thing, or perhaps the king may be a good king. In Jacob's case, he had traveled to Egypt during the famine. His favorite son Joseph sets the stage. Genesis 47:7-9. Then Joseph brought in his father Jacob and set him before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Jacob, How old are you? And Jacob said to Pharaoh, The days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. Many dreams and visions were confirmed for this very instance. Jacob or Israel would begin to flourish in Egypt. The fourth component is persecution or trials. Jacob finds himself in a tough situation again, but this time he is trying to flee Laban. Notice what he says to Laban. Genesis 31:41-42. Thus I have been in your house 20 years. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flock, and you have changed my wages 10 times. Unless the God of my father, the God of Abraham and the fear of Isaac, had been with me, surely now you would have sent me away empty-handed. God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked you last night. The fifth component is the third heaven correspondence. The most famous is Jacob wrestling with God. Genesis 32:24-26. Then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of day. Now when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, Let me go, for the day breaks. But he said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. This is where his name changes from Jacob to Israel and becomes the legend himself. Another correspondence is just before this encounter, when Jacob meets angels before meeting his brother Esau. Genesis 32:1-2. So Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he said, This is God's camp. And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. Other times angels encountered Jacob in visions and dreams, but this took place in the natural world. This concludes our 5 points. Take care, friends.